Hello everybody and welcome to a video on Hand of Fate 2. I thought I'd pull together a video on this game because it's quite complex and there's a lot of stuff going on in it, and as much as I'm writing a review and would love for you to all read the review, I feel like it's probably easier to show you one of the early stages of the game, to show some of the systems that are at play in it, because it's a mix of board game, RPG, choose your own adventure, storytelling and action game. So there's a lot going on in it, and yeah, like I said, I thought it'd be easy to show you some of the systems. So as you can see, there's a little piece there on the table. You move it from card to card. That's your character, and with each card, it flips over, and whatever's on that card you need to play out. So this one is obviously a dice challenge. I needed to roll above a certain number in order to pass the arm wrestling challenge. Because I did so, I get some treasure and loot and stuff, which is great. It's what I needed. If I had failed, obviously I wouldn't have got that stuff and probably had to hand over some cash. I haven't actually lost the arm wrestling game yet, but I'm sure there are consequences for failing.
Always treat those who feed
Next up, as you can see, I moved one space, the card flipped over, and this one is a storytelling minigame. Or it's not really a minigame, a bit of storytelling with some options. So the choose your own adventure element comes through. The cards, as you can obviously guess, are randomized. So at the start of each scenario, you'll actually pick cards from a deck that you've got, and you try and pick obviously a balance of cards that will benefit you the most. And those cards are laid out at random to make the game's board for that scenario, along with enemies and other issues that you'll need to deal with as well. The goal is obviously to get to a specific card, beat a boss, and that clears the scenario. How you get there is largely up to you. As you can see, even from this simple board, this is a very simple one. This is the first board. They get much more complex than this. But there's two directions I could have taken. I start in one corner, the goal being obvious enough to get to the other corner. Which direction I chose was up to me. And yeah, obviously I chose this direction, which had the arm wrestling and the chance to collect food and buy food. That's what that is. That's a pie cart, which is pretty cool. I do like my pies. Next up is a quite complex card, actually, or a difficult card. There's a little medallion there. If you collect the medallion, you keep it for every other scenario afterwards, so it brings you benefits and all that. If you don't manage to complete the challenge though, and it's always a difficult challenge as I said, the medallion stays on the card and you'll need to put it back into your deck to give it another go later on. Once you've got the medallion, you can probably not use that card again, and that's fine. The main reason that you put these cards in your deck is to try and get those medallions, which are pretty important. But yeah, as you're about to see, this is actually a pretty difficult challenge, and I failed at it, unfortunately. Because I failed at it, I don't get the medallion, the card goes back, and I'll have to add it to my deck at a later date to try and collect the treasure. So yeah, it's going to be another dice rolling game. There's these dice rolling mini games, there's card selection mini games, as you saw before, which you've got 4 different cards. Some are good, some are bad. You need to pick one at random and hope for the best. You'll see a little bit later on in the video the action at work. And yeah, so here we go, roll the dice. I have to get over 15 with 3 dice, which is quite difficult, of course. You get 2 rolls of the dice. You can actually hold on to any number of those dice that you like. I'm going to hold on to the 5 because obviously that's the best chance I have of actually hitting a target of 15 with 3 dice. But unfortunately, re-rolling the other 2 didn't produce the result I wanted, so I don't get the medallion. I can move on.
And thus you've lost this round.
One mechanic that's worth mentioning is that there's food. As you see in my character's profile down the bottom left, there's a green icon. That's food. With each step I take, with each new card that I experience, I lose 1 food. If I run out, then my health starts to run out. So this isn't a roguelike game by any means, but it has that roguelike mechanic that you need to keep your character well fed and happy, else it becomes more and more difficult as they run out of health and start to fade away.
Of the peasantry.
So this is the boss battle. I've made to the end, and yeah, it's going to be a difficult battle, at least the first time I tried it, and you're going to see me struggle a bit, which is okay. I'm actually not so bad at this game, I like to say. But if you play the original Hand of Fate, you'll see that there's some improvements and refinements, and it's just generally a better action game. I really like it, actually. And the bosses require certain strategies to overcome, and it's certainly a very pretty combat system, as you're about to see. So there we go. Just beforehand, I have a chance to rally my troops and get some benefits into them to make the fight easier. Unfortunately, I failed, so I'm going to have to do the best I can at a disadvantage. And we go through the loading screen. The combat system's kind of like Batman or Lord of the Rings, I guess, in a way, or it's similar to an awful Assassin's Creed. It's similar to an awful lot of other major action games in that it's very focused on responding to the enemy's attacks and ducking and diving out of the way and reflecting their attacks before laying into them yourself. It's certainly not a button masher if you want to be successful. So this is the Terror Westwind. He's the boss fella from this guy. He's obviously very heavily armoured, and it takes me a while to figure out how to actually deal with that. So, as you can see, there's red that appears over the boss's head. When that happens, you need to roll out of the way. That's a sign that it's an unblockable attack on the way. You would have also seen a little green icon appear above one of the zombie thing's heads. That's a symbol that there's an attack on the way, but you can block and reflect it, which is obviously a good way of doing damage and getting it back. Here we go. So I'm getting beaten pretty bad by the bosses to start with, I must admit. It took me a while, like I said, to work out how to defeat this guy. As it turns out, the little circle above his head indicates that you need to not just once break his guard, but you need to keep breaking his guard over and over and over again. It took me a while to understand how to do that, or that I needed to do that. I thought that you could get through the battle just by breaking guard once and then laying into him with normal attacks. It didn't really work for me. But as you can see now, I'm getting the hang of it, and now I'm breaking down his armour, which will, in a second, allow me to do a particularly strong attack. Here we go. And oh. There we go. Stunned him, let me do a big attack that did a lot of damage to him. And from that point, obviously, I found the battle fairly simple. You've seen one other guy there in the battlefield. This is new for Hand of Fate 2. Companions you can take into battle, and they're actually very useful. Each companion has a different special ability or a set of abilities. This one casts magic, and he's the first guy that you pick up on your side, and he's, like I said, very useful. And there we go, I beat the boss. So yeah, that's the end of the demonstration, and that's a taste of how Hand of Fate 2 works. I hope you really enjoyed it. This game is a cracker, and I really recommend everyone play it. Have a read my review as well, but otherwise, thanks for watching, and see you at the next one.